Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect, or Tiny Disneyland, either or. And this episode's going to be containing the completion of Tomorrowland. So you can see in front of you is the Innoventions building / Carousel of Progress, but it is Innoventions in my Disneyland, and completion with the Tomorrowland train station as well. There are some other things I added off camera I'll show you in the end of the video toward the tour. But let's just hop into the time lapse. I'll show you what I did, and let's just go. Okay, let's get started. So the first things first is to figure out where Innoventions / Carousel of Progress is going to sit. And I already had a general idea where I was going to place it in the park, because after I built Pizza Port, it's only fitting that Innoventions would sit next to it. Now, Innoventions has a very interesting history. Again, the building's been there since 1967 because of Carousel of Progress, and then later turned into America Sings, which is the other show, and then turned into Innoventions, and now it just sits empty after, what was it, Star Wars something. It was like a Star Wars launch bay. Yeah, it was like a meet and greet. But regardless, in my rendition of my Disneyland, I wanted to do Innoventions because that's the place I knew the most. Innoventions was basically just a giant arcade, basically. Not really an arcade, but a showcase of technologies. So there was like a place for testing out new games. There's a place for seeing new household items. I mean, eventually Innoventions showcased a like House of the Future type of thing. That was kind of cool. But in my rendition, this is just going to be my typical Innoventions. I do want to take note that to build a circular building in Parkitect, which is insanely difficult, unless you're using mods, I'm going to use my monorail method that I use for my Space Mountain. So monorail pieces are going to be used as my border of the said building. And then I used a monorail track here for the triangular piece. I don't know why I don't know what you would call it. Maybe I would call it the obelisk. Maybe I would call it a triangular deco. It's such a weird piece of architecture. And the building didn't come with that until Innoventions was made back in 1998. So this was kind of the thing they added to the building. But Innoventions originally being Carousel of Progress, the building was round because the show did have a rotating rotunda. It's like, I think the guests went around, yes, they went around the stages. You can look this up because Carousel of Progress still operates in Walt Disney World at this moment. But Disneyland was the first home for it because Carousel of Progress was from the World's Fair that Walt presented. They presented, I think, 3 attractions. It was Lincoln, Carousel of Progress, and Primeval World. And so that was where those came from. So it just was natural for Walt to just bring over Carousel of Progress into Disneyland because he already made the attraction. Wasn't going to destroy it, so I might as well port it over. And it kind of fit well into the already growing Tomorrowland back then, because Tomorrowland was, I would say, the least worked on land when the park opened in 1955, because you can look at old pictures. It barely had 2 buildings down the main street. It had the rocket ride and a boat ride in the corner in Autopia. That's all it had. And Rocket to the Moon. Yeah, not a lot of stuff. But it's just kind of a weird thing. But it kind of fits in. I was going to build it anyway. I needed to build some type of structure here anyway. And I added some flat rides just to add some more capacity to the park. Because I need to make the park operational to a point. It's Parkitect, it has to work at least in gameplay wise. It has to at least work. So you can see here I'm just messing around the signage for Innoventions. It's not really the best way to do it, but it's pretty authentic to what Innoventions is. And I do like the triangular tower thing. I finally put it together. It looks good. For vanilla, it looks good for vanilla. If I was doing this in like modded, I could 100% get it accurate. But again, playing in vanilla, it has been the challenge, and that's kind of been the fun part, is figuring out the puzzle pieces of all set pieces and scenery. So this is doing the my simple what's it called? Cylinder trick or dome trick. You just place a whole bunch in a circle, kind of like making them kind of be one giant piece, and then complete the roof on top with more discs. It's a lot of piece usage, so again, if you have a really low budget computer, it's gonna be hefty on performance, so I just did it here too. I think I had some, I was gonna try to do some more track shenanigans. Oh, that's the term. It's called trackitecture. It's the term for it because Roller Coaster Tycoon Open World CT coined it, and so it's called trackitecture when you use track pieces to be a building or a part of a building. So I've been using trackitecture now for the entire of this build, Space Mountain being one of them, Innoventions. I used a little bit for Autopia. I think I used a miniature monorail for the center where was that laser thing in the middle of Tomorrowland, I forgot what it was called. Oh, I want to keep a note on this. So this is the attempt of making the ramp coming from the second floor. I was going to use disc cylinders, and those are ugly. They're very, very ugly. I'm just showcasing this dude here because I just want to show you how some of my experimentation has to be done. And experimentation is very, very messy because you look at it and you're like, doesn't look good. So I opted and changed it to do a car ride piece. I actually had to test out and dodge between the monorail track of the main building and the other monorail track, or the roller coaster monorail track, from the triangular bit. And we're just going to skip ahead. You can see I finished. I did that off camera actually because I was having some difficulties putting that together. But that was a good trick. I think after all I did it, it finally felt right. Because a while I actually deleted it and started over again. And so I finally just bit the bullet. I'm like, I just need that ramp properly made. So I used the car piece. Again, that's trackitecture for you. Now onto the last build. Well, actually there's a couple more builds, but you won't see that in the time lapse. I'll show you though in the tour. Here is the signage for the Tomorrowland train station. Oh boy, the Tomorrowland train station has changed not a lot in its history of being at the park. In 1955 they didn't have that train station because back then they only had two train stations, Main Street and Frontierland. I think later back in the 90s, or I want to say the 80s, this train station was added. And then we have the recent rendition is this one. So you see the custom signage that's for the Primeval World diorama. I made that sign actually in shapes in Parkitect. I'll show you in the live tour what I did. I'll show you a close-up of that. That's really cool. So I made that sign custom and then made the sci-fi looking sign. That sign actually is where it's sitting right now underneath this people mover track. Does not exist in real life. I kind of just warped it here, but again, this is my tiny Disneyland, so I'm kind of just taking things very liberally. And again, it's a miniature model, miniature world of my own, so I did it. So I did that. And then did some weird planting stuff. I don't know what you call it. Foliage, plants. Kind of like a weird thing, because I saw that in some of the pictures, it's kind of like checkered like this, or striped. So I kind of copied that. And then onto building the actual train station. So it's just a canopy that's made of like metal and iron, and it's just so simple. It's like retro Jules Verne, because back in 1998 New Tomorrowland was redone in all the brown and gold colors, which was actually the most stupidest thing that they could ever done. Space Mountain was that ugly brown green color. Ugh, gag. So that was the left. So Tomorrowland's train station is actually right now the leftovers of it. Right now in current Disneyland, but in my Disneyland, I just copy the one that's current right now because that station hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changed in Tomorrowland today is they made it more retro with the whites and the blues and the golds and the grays. But my Tomorrowland's kind of a clash of almost all the eras. It's been kind of fun, kind of making the different eras. Again, these are the things that I have memories for. So yeah, there's the simple Tomorrowland train station. It's almost done. I have to finish up putting up the Tomorrowland sign up on the main pillar, and then finish up all the trees and stuff, covering up the train station platform because I like to make the color at least match closer to the gray color versus the nougat color that cannot be changed on any station platform in this game. So I kind of just opt to do that. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys go here. We're going to go take a tour of the park. I'm going to show you all the little details and things that I'd worked off camera. So I'll meet you over there in a couple seconds. Welcome to Tomorrowland. So we're going to take a quickish tour through Tomorrowland, because at this point Tomorrowland is a completed land. We're up to 4 completed lands now. Main Street's completed, Ventureland's completed, Frontierland's completed, and now Tomorrowland is completed. I would say Tomorrowland in My Tiny Disneyland is the biggest land here. So this was kind of a interesting, well, it's a good moment, because I am now more than halfway done with this park, because now there's so many little places now I know what needs to be done and little pockets that need to be filled in. But let's just start off with the front area of Tomorrowland. So this is the Astro Orbiter. So this is a representation of what's currently at the park. Next to it is the House of the Future. That's not there anymore, but I love having it because it's a very awesome, I don't know, retro feel to my Tomorrowland. Then going down the center of said Main Street or Boulevard is the People Mover going down its track. Off to the right hand side is Star Tours. So I built this a long time ago. It's a blueprint on the workshop. If you guys want to play with it, you can. So you can see there's the little Star Speeder, there's the People Mover going through, there's the docking bay where you go and board this motion simulator. And here's Star Trader. It was fun to build when I built this a while ago. And back onto the other side of the boulevard is Astro Blasters, or Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster. So here's Zurg, Buzz, doing its fighting thing. It's a arcade ride. So built that in an episode a while ago, probably a year ago at this point. Then we kind of venture down off to Tomorrowland Terrace, which is the main restaurant, one of the main restaurants in Tomorrowland. So this is where you get your burgers and fries. And over here is the Submarine Voyage and Monorail Station. This was in our last episode. This was a fun one too, because this was well, I like doing this one because Submarine Voyage and Autopia and Monorail are kind of like on top of each other. I find that the most wildest construction ever. So that I built that. And then Autopia had to be built. So here's Autopia. Excuse me. And then we're going to quickly pass Innoventions, the newest edition. As you can see here, the ramp that goes down is made of a car ride. And I think that was a really good decision on my part, because I didn't want to build out of shapes. The shapes kind of would have ruined it. And I think this was a better, just cleaner look, and it worked out pretty well. And here's the Tomorrowland train station with the custom sign that I made. I will show you that custom sign in a second. But here's the simple Tomorrowland station. Add some trees in the background because I needed to fill in some things, and then, kind of hide the monorail coming in from the hotel. I'll show you that in a second too, actually. Then over here, the biggest building out of the entire of Tomorrowland is Space Mountain. This thing was a beast to build, but it was worth it because it does look like Space Mountain. Feels like Space Mountain. Yeah. Looks pretty gnarly. So over here is going to be where the Dinosaur Diorama, or Primeval World, and Grand Canyon Diorama. I'm still debating on if I want to cover this entire turn in a building and build the diorama like Grand Canyon here and then Primeval World over here. I will dictate that, but like I said earlier, I have now pockets of places to work on, and so that's kind of what's going to happen now. I'm going to fill in that pocket maybe later, but at this point, if I zoom out, like most of this side of the park is finished. You can tell how big Tomorrowland is compared to like Frontierland or New Orleans. This is done. I'm quite happy in the progress where this is going. So let's see here. Let me show you the sign. So here's the Primeval World diorama sign. Built on the floor straight down like this. And I proceed to just build it out of shapes. So you can see here cylinders, cones, here's a train. I mean, I made everything of the sign. I kind of copied and mimicked it. And then I took it in Paint.net, added the Primeval World wording, and it says, I forgot what it said on the bottom, like something about dinosaurs. Regardless, but this is what I did. I've done this now a couple times now for this map particularly. I think it really helps kind of solidify all the Parkitect stuff going into this build, because I want to make everything kind of part of it. So yeah, passing over Fantasyland. I might get back to this soon, because now my docket's open to now go back to Fantasyland and maybe work on Casey Jr., because here's a track layout of what the ride should be. I'm not necessarily in love with it, but I might just bite the bullet and fix it and just fill it in, like, you know, just build it. So I'll probably do that. I mean, there's like little pockets over here, like I can start work on Small World now, because Small World should sit back here, and it would be an easy plop down, done, end of discussion. I might have to move the monorail. No, I don't want to move the monorail. I really don't care not to. I'll just leave it where it is. So let me show you the other thing I worked on off camera. So here's the parking lot. Kind of been filling in with cars, because cars are coming in for a visit. Kind of just was doing that. And then over here, I finally finished the other side of the monorail station. So this is a retro look of the Disneyland Hotel back in, ooh, I want to say the 60s? Early 70s? So the Disneyland Hotel and the monorail train station was added. The monorail station was added like this. So I kind of wanted to make a kind of a suggestion that off the map is the Disneyland Hotel. And I kind of was like, oh, this is kind of cute. It works out. I actually want to give you guys a ride on the monorail from the hotel to Tomorrowland. We might as well do that. I just have to wait for a train to arrive. Let's hurry up. I want a train. Let's just fast forward. Hopefully a train gets here momentarily. You can also see that I did some custom posters here. Grab those off the internet. Not hard to do. Disneyland train station, or Disneyland Railroad, monorail. Then I put another one over here. So yeah, this is actually a park, because there's the sign here. So guests will spawn out and then walk into this thing, and then we go from there. So let's go. Oops, wrong one. See, I knew it would do that. So let's pick monorail red. Let's go down to camera view. Oops, let's try this again. No, stop. Sorry for the dizziness. Sorry. Okay, let's position ourselves, and hopefully the monorail will launch out. Here we go. So we're gonna take a nice ride to Tomorrowland Station. So doing this, I was doing this a couple times actually earlier, just to kind of watch the monorail do its thing. Past the Indiana Jones show building, go across the parking lot. For me, this really sells the moment that this is actually Disneyland for me. So I do really like the feel of what this project is leading to. Yeah, I'm not going to talk much either, because I just love watching the monorail. This is the fun part. Taking a turn. This would be where Harbor Boulevard would be. This is like the edge of the map. So you would see Harbor Boulevard from the monorail. But in my map, Harbor Boulevard doesn't exist. So that's fine. And then we make an incline up into the first turn into the park. Here's Autopia. That doesn't operate at the moment because it's go-karts. They need guests to operate. Yeah, and the roundabout. Yeah, I don't think I discussed from the last video about the monorail is that the only reason why the monorail is like this in this area is the whole looping apart is because the monorail was just a showcase of the technology. It wasn't really meant to be a transportation, so they just built a pretzel-like loop, and so they just kind of kept it that way. Here, let me rotate my camera because we're going to run into Matterhorn. So here comes our final approach into Tomorrowland. Dodge the monorail. There we go. Going down the stretch. Oh, we just clipped into the Matterhorn. Oops. And we're just approaching into the monorail station. There's the people mover. I hope this transportation actually works when I actually have guests enabled. When I finally load this into a regular map, hopefully the guests will actually walk into the station and then, you know, transport into the park. So we're going to wait for a load, and then we're going to travel now back to the hotel. This is the stretch that's the most boring in my opinion, because it is just well, it's a straight shot. It doesn't really do much. So I think the monorail blue's already in the rotation. It's already in the park when we left. I don't think we'll see it pass by us. No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I can't add a third train. I would love to add a third train just to add more motion to the route. Oh, there's the tiny Disneyland sign. But in reality, the Disneyland monorail only can operate 2 train op, because each train will have to depart from stations. Yeah, they have to depart from each station simultaneously. So in this aspect, this track is actually longer than it should be. So yep, there's the parking lot, all the cars. We're finally I need to add more cars, honestly. Once this map is done and uploaded on the workshop, the parking lot will be somewhat full, so it's kind of imitating a full day. And here we are at the Disneyland Hotel monorail station. So yeah, I hope you guys had a wonderful time at the park and had a wonderful time watching, and thank you for watching this another installment of Tiny Disneyland. I'm probably going to work on some other parts of the park. We'll see what I'm going to touch, but stay tuned, kind of keep tabs on the channel. I'll probably post randomly on Twitter or Instagram, who knows. But I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.